Imagine this scenario. You invest in beautiful, expensive wood for your deck, only to find it gray, rotten, and completely ruined just 3 years later. It begs the question, why can't modern wood last even 5 years, while medieval half-timbered houses have stood strong for centuries? The answer lies in a forgotten secret passed down through generations: linseed oil. But not just any linseed oil. It's about using it correctly, according to time-honored traditional methods. Today, I'm going to show you how to protect your wood for decades, without relying on harsh chemicals and for a surprisingly low cost. In the past, working with wood was a generational endeavor. A grandfather would build a fence, the father would repair it, and the grandson would inherit it. Now, it seems we're replacing things every 3 years. It's not necessarily that things were inherently better in the past, it's that we've lost invaluable knowledge. Modern wood often comes from fast-growing plantations. These trees are grown to towering heights in just 20 years, compared to the century it used to take. The problem? Rapid growth results in a loose, porous structure. The wood becomes like a sponge, easily penetrated by water, which invites fungi to settle in and rot the wood from the inside out. The industry offers us a supposed solution: pressure impregnation. This involves pumping wood full of chemicals like copper, chromium, and arsenic, toxic substances designed to repel fungi and insects. While this may work for a while, these chemicals inevitably leach out, finding their way into your garden, the soil, and even the groundwater. And, ironically, the newer, supposedly environmentally friendly impregnations can be even worse, containing so much copper that they corrode standard screws. This forces you to invest in more expensive stainless steel fasteners. Even with these measures, the wood often doesn't last any longer. It's a truly vicious cycle. You purchase expensive, treated wood, only to have it ruined after a few years. Then, you have to dispose of it as hazardous waste because of the chemicals, and then you're back to buying new, expensive, treated wood again. The industry profits, you pay the price, and the environment suffers. Medieval craftsmen didn't face this problem. They didn't have access to chemicals, pressure impregnation, or modern preservatives. Yet, their wooden buildings stand to this day. How did they achieve this? The answer is simple. They understood how wood truly works. They knew that wood doesn't need to be sealed like a plastic bottle. It needs to breathe. At the same time, it requires protection from moisture and pests. Their solution was ingenious: linseed oil, extracted from flax seeds, the same plant used to make linen. Linseed oil penetrates deeply into the wood without clogging its pores. Instead, it hardens from within, allowing the wood to remain flexible while becoming water repellent. The Vikings famously soaked their ships in linseed oil, enabling them to cross the Atlantic for centuries. Medieval farmers treated their tools with linseed oil, and many of those tools are still functional today. This secret was never truly lost. It was simply forgotten, as the industry convinced us that only expensive chemicals could provide effective protection. But the best solution is often the simplest. Linseed oil, when used correctly, protects wood better than any modern treatment. However, not all linseed oil is created equal. This is the first crucial point that medieval masters understood. There's raw linseed oil and boiled linseed oil, and the difference between the two can determine success or failure. Raw linseed oil dries extremely slowly. We're talking months, sometimes even years. During this time, it remains sticky, attracting dust and dirt. Even worse, it can become rancid before it hardens. For our ancestors, raw linseed oil was merely the starting material, not the finished solution. Cooked linseed oil is the true secret. But be careful, because today, many hardware stores sell cooked linseed oil that has never actually been cooked. Manufacturers often mix raw linseed oil with metal salts to accelerate the drying process. While this might work to some extent, it's not the same as genuine cooked linseed oil. Medieval craftsmen actually cooked their linseed oil, heating it for hours at a low temperature. This process alters the molecular structure, making the oil thicker, stickier, and much faster drying. More importantly, it improves polymerization. This means that the oil molecules bond together to form long chains, creating a strong, flexible protective layer. In Nordic countries, linseed oil was essential for survival. The Vikings built their longboats from oak planks, which had to endure months at sea, battling storms and saltwater. Their solution was to soak each plank in boiled linseed oil. The oil penetrated deep into the wood fibers, making them water repellent, while allowing the wood to remain flexible enough to adapt to the waves. Archaeologists have unearthed Viking ships that had been buried for over 1,000 years, and the wood was still so well preserved that the original linseed oil treatment could be detected. But the Vikings weren't alone in their knowledge. Craftsmen all over Europe developed similar techniques. German carpenters treated their half-timbered houses with linseed oil. Many of these houses still stand today, after 5, 6, or even 700 years. The wooden beams have darkened with age, but they remain in remarkably good condition. The secret lies in how linseed oil interacts with wood. Other oils, like olive oil or sunflower oil, remain liquid and can become rancid or wash away. Linseed oil is different. It's a drying oil. This means it reacts with oxygen in the air and becomes solid. This reaction, called oxidation, causes the oil molecules to combine with oxygen atoms, forming long polymer chains. The result is no longer an oil, but a type of natural, flexible plastic that protects the wood from the inside out. The process takes weeks, but the results can last for decades. The hardened linseed oil is water repellent, yet vapor permeable, allowing the wood to breathe while repelling rainwater. Fungi and bacteria find no suitable breeding ground, and insects tend to avoid the treated wood. Medieval sources describe exactly how linseed oil was applied. Craftsmen heated it slightly to improve penetration, applied it in thin layers, and allowed each layer to dry completely. Sometimes, they would mix in beeswax for extra shine and protection. This knowledge was widespread. Every farmer, carpenter, and boat builder understood linseed oil treatment. It was as commonplace as brushing your teeth is today. It wasn't until the 20th century, with the rise of the chemical industry, that this knowledge began to fade. Today, however, craftsmen and DIY enthusiasts are rediscovering this ancient knowledge, realizing that linseed oil still works. It's cheaper than modern wood preservatives, non-toxic, and often more durable. Our ancestors were right. Now, let's get practical. The secret of our ancestors wasn't just the right linseed oil, but also the right application technique. One mistake can turn the whole project into a disaster. I'm going to show you the exact method that has been proven to work for centuries. First, you need the right material, boiled linseed oil, but not the kind you typically find at the hardware store. You can recognize real boiled linseed oil by its thicker consistency and faster drying time. In Sweden, there are still manufacturers who boil it according to traditional methods. It may cost more, but it's worth it. Alternatively, you can boil raw linseed oil yourself, although you won't actually boil it, as that would be dangerous. Instead, you'll carefully heat it. You'll need an old pot that you'll never use for cooking again. Pour in the raw linseed oil and heat it to about 80 degrees Celsius, 176 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't let it get any hotter, or it could catch fire. Stir it continuously for 2 hours, keeping it warm. The oil will darken and become more viscous. This is polymerization in action. But be extremely careful, as linseed oil can self-ignite. The rags you use must be dipped in water or burned after use. Never throw them away dry, as medieval sources have warned that linseed oil rags can cause fires. Now, let's move on to preparing the wood. This step is crucial. New wood must be sanded, at least with 120 grit sandpaper, to open the pores. Old, weathered wood must be thoroughly cleaned to remove any gray coating, which would prevent the oil from penetrating. Here's the golden trick of our ancestors. Warm the linseed oil slightly before use. Not hot, just lukewarm. Warm oil is thinner and penetrates deeper. Medieval craftsmen would often place their oil jugs in the sun or near the fireplace. Step 1. Dilute for deep penetration. Pure linseed oil is too thick for the first coat. Our ancestors diluted it with turpentine, specifically what we now call balsam turpentine, the real stuff made from pine resin. Aim for a mixing ratio of 1 part turpentine to 3 parts linseed oil. This thin mixture will be absorbed by the wood like a sponge. Apply the first coat with a brush, being generous. The wood should be thoroughly saturated, paying special attention to the end grain, the ends of the boards. End grain is highly absorbent, like a bundle of straws, so a lot of oil will disappear, but that's intentional. Wait 20 minutes, and then comes the most important step. Wipe off all excess oil. Really, all of it. The wood should be saturated, but the surface must look dry. If you leave a shiny layer, it will become sticky and attract dirt. Step 2. Apply wet on wet. This is an old painter's trick. Before the first coat is completely dry, apply the second coat. The linseed oil in the first coat will dissolve slightly, allowing the new coat to bond perfectly with it. The result is an even, deep impregnation. Use less or no turpentine for the second coat, as the linseed oil should no longer penetrate as deeply, but rather form a protective layer. Apply again, allow it to soak in, and wipe off any excess oil. Step 3. Apply several thin layers instead of one thick layer. This is the real secret to longevity. Each layer must dry completely before the next one is applied. In warm, dry weather, this may take 2 to 3 days. In humid weather, it could take a week. Patience pays off. 3 to 4 thin layers will provide protection that lasts for decades, whereas a thick layer will never harden properly and may flake off. Now, for the beeswax bonus. Medieval masters had another trick up their sleeves. After applying the final layer of linseed oil, they would rub beeswax into the wood. The wax mixes with the still soft linseed oil to create a silky, water-repellent surface. Dissolve beeswax in turpentine until a creamy paste forms. Apply it with a rag and polish it with a dry cloth after an hour. The result is a warm, matte sheen that looks beautiful and feels wonderful to the touch. Drying time is critical. Linseed oil dries from the outside in. The surface may appear dry after a day, but it's likely still soft inside. Wait at least a week before putting any weight on the wood. With thick beams, it can take a month for everything to harden completely. The result is well worth the patience. The treated wood will have a deep, warm color, feel silky smooth, and smell pleasantly of linseed oil. Water will bead off, yet the wood will still be able to breathe. This treatment can last for 20 to 30 years. Then simply clean, sand lightly, and apply a new coat. That's how our ancestors did it, and that's how it still works today. Simple, natural, and durable. Imagine never having to wander the aisles of a hardware store again, desperately searching for the latest wood preservative. You know the feeling, standing in front of a shelf with 100 different products, all promising the same thing, all costing a fortune. With linseed oil, that becomes a thing of the past. A liter of boiled linseed oil costs about 20 euros and is enough for 20 square meters of wood. Modern wood preservatives cost 3 times as much and often last only half as long. The math is simple. Linseed oil costs cents, while chemicals cost euros. But it's about more than just money. It's about the feeling of self-sufficiency. You're doing it yourself, just like your ancestors did. You don't need an industry to tell you what's good for you. You understand how it works. You see how the oil soaks into the wood, and you feel how the surface becomes smooth. That's real craftsmanship. And then there's the environmental aspect. No toxins in the garden, no disposal as hazardous waste. Linseed oil is essentially a foodstuff. You could even drink it if you wanted to. You can rinse the leftovers off your brush with soap, and you're done. But the best part is its durability. Once applied properly, it lasts for decades. Your children will inherit the wood you treat today, just like in the old days when things were built to last for generations. Nature developed the best solution thousands of years ago. The flax plant produces this wonderful oil that protects and nourishes wood. We just have to learn to look again and understand what has always been there. The medieval secret is no secret at all. It's simple knowledge that was almost lost. Linseed oil, when used correctly, protects your wood better than any modern chemical. Try it. Your wood will thank you. Subscribe for more forgotten secrets of self-sufficiency.